a lot of people say should have called a timeout to kind of get their placement there, but they decided to just go run the fast break, and the ball handling on that drive on that sequence to actually get that pass from Marcus to Jason, that was probably one of the smoothest you know offensive plays, offensive possessions I've seen in a very long time, and it goes to show that this Celtics team is not like the Celtics teams of the past. This Celtics team has grit. This Celtics team has passion. They're still young, obviously, but they've grown to become one of the top. They're starting to ascend after all those years of so close but couldn't quite get there, and some of the immaturities that Tatum and Brown and maybe Smart may have had. This game kind of proved that maybe they just might have a fighting chance to kind of get over that hump this year. Not maybe make a significant impact, but maybe actually have a chance to actually make a legitimate run for a championship this postseason. What are your thoughts, buddy?
Yeah, we've come a long way from people throwing chairs in the bubble at each other. That's for sure. And last year's debacle, the play-in game being the 7 and a gentleman's sweep. The second half of the year, the defense has really stepped up, and you can see it at points in time. I mean, granted, Kyrie got his 39 and was out there making plays and making shots and flipping fingers, but the guy can go. I mean, you got to give him credit. He can go. He can go out there. He can make plays. I think he cost them at the end, though, because I think he wanted that hero shot at the end to bury him. And he dribbled about 20 seconds of that clock away, got KD the ball with Tatum on his right hand, and just a bad shot. And good rebound by Horford, no timeout. Everybody touches the ball, layup, game's over.
And even the possession that made him go up, that three he shot to make him go up 114 or 111. He actually that kind of gave me flashbacks of that 2016 NBA Finals. Just different side of the court, because he came up clutch with that, and you thought that was going to be the dagger, but their defense was just too wide. They weren't really pressing. They just kind of let Jaylen Brown drive in, easy drive in the middle to get that layup just to put him up, put him down by one, and then obviously that sequence you said by Durant, that kind of set up the golden play. But obviously we already kind of stated. But you think that a lot of people going into the series thought that maybe the Brooklyn Nets were gonna kind of walk all over them. Local guy here, Adam Jones, is a big supporter of the Brooklyn Nets. He was, he thinks they're just still going to destroy the Celtics. But you think this game, even though as close as it was, should Celtics fans be more concerned because of how Kyrie played and how we kind of squeak one out, or should we be enthused or looking encouraged? Excuse me, that's the word I was looking for. By what the Celtics were able to pull off, and you think that this can happen for at least 3 more games?
You should be enthused because this was a close game down to the stretch, and you found a way to win it. And there was a lot of games this year where they didn't make the shot at the end, or they blew the lead, like the game against Portland. Just put themselves in bad situations, and this was good to see. This was really good to say, to finish it off. Show it to Brooklyn, because Brooklyn comes in, they steal home court with that win, and what you do is you hold serve and you move to tonight. And a couple of days of film, a couple of days of work, and a couple more days towards Robert Williams being back. So those are the things you got to take out of this.
That and Ben Simmons. I mean, obviously we don't know what Ben Simmons is because we haven't seen him play, it feels like, in 10 years, but it seems as though that him and Robert Williams are making some progress on potentially making an appearance in this series, and it's definitely going to be interesting to see if both of those guys come back. If Robert Williams his injury is kind of not fully healed, but can he be a contributor for the Celtics team? And if Ben Simmons does come back, what is he going to look like? Will he be serviceable for the Brooklyn Nets. So it's going to be interesting.
They're saying Game 4 Monday night at this point.
For Ben or for
Ben
that's for Ben,
Simmons.
right? For Ben Simmons, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's what I heard. I know that there's a lot of people in the Celtics organization that is that are reporting that Robert Williams has been cleared to kind of practice or kind of clear to participate in practice at least. So we'll see if I wouldn't want to rush him back just because you don't want to lose the potential of him actually being a bigger impact down the stretch. If they don't need him in this series, might as well save him. Al Horford looked really good on Sunday, so you can kind of go with that in the meantime. But going to the nemesis, Kyrie Irving. This has been obviously an ongoing thing ever since he left, ever since he said he wanted to come back, and then he was seen at the All-Star game with Kevin Durant saying 2 max slots. He was going to be, we need to read, it was just kind of him, talking about the All-Star game, and then eventually they both of them bolted their teams and signed with Brooklyn. But Kyrie Irving again on Sunday, we knew he was going to receive the boos. We knew he was going to, he wasn't going to receive the love. And I don't know if Kyrie, if that's what he wants, because it seems as though when there's a video out there, the minute he walked out of the court, before anyone really had a chance to say anything to him, he already had his middle fingers out, middle finger to the crowd. Like if, he was just that was his plan going in, and I just find that very, very strange. I mean, not strange, but I just found it. And then you see the video of him jawing at the fans, doing the crybaby face, and then obviously at the end, at the press conference, he essentially, cursed a lot and just basically said, if they're going to give it to me, I'm gonna give it to them back. Which I like. I don't mind that. That's what you would think of a competitor to want to do. But do you think that we're in his heads, or is he in our heads? Are we making this more of a thing than it really should be, or is it really Kyrie?
Ways.
Yeah,
it's both ways. I think everybody's in everybody's head, and it's you got to keep it up. You got to keep it up because he's vile. He's vile, and he's he's vile, like the worst kind of person, like just condescending themselves at the end of a sentence.
Yeah. And it's kind of he has that kind of know-it-all kind of mentality where we're kind of beneath him, the fans, and also the media, where obviously he had the issue with the COVID vaccination, how he didn't want it, he wasn't going to get it because he wanted to, stand up for the people who refused to get it, which I'm just like, they don't need you. The people that didn't get the vaccination, they don't need you, it's Kyrie. So, don't use that as an excuse. Like, think of something else, because I don't think that's the real reason. Whether it's his beliefs I'm not trying to say Kyrie should have got the vaccine. That's his own personal, choice. But it's just the way he carries himself. It's kind of that Aaron Rodgers-esque kind of.
Like, Trevor Bauer. Those two guys should be put on an island.
Trevor Bauer, Kyrie Irving. I would put Aaron Rodgers on there, even though he doesn't annoy me as much. I don't know why he doesn't annoy me, but
because he's small market.
He's small market. Green Bay. He's great talent, but it's just those guys just think they're given a platform and they kind of use it very they're very smug about it. They think that they're kings of the world, and they can treat anyone the way that they choose. And this goes back to Kyrie. We'll see how he reacts tonight. Let's see if I'm sure the boos with Boston is still going to be there, because they know that they want to get another rise out of him. But we don't. But from my perspective, are the boos igniting him? Are you kind of poking a sleeping bear, or is it kind of hurting him in the moments that matter the most at the end of the game? It showed on Sunday. He still performed Sunday, but we obviously had the last laugh, and we're gonna have to do the same thing tonight. We can't. Kevin Durant had a subpar game. He had 23 points on Sunday, and it's not. You can't expect that again from Kevin Durant. You're gonna expect him to score as well as Kyrie, and you're going to have to kind of keep up with that with the likes of Tatum, Brown, and Smart, playing defensive player of the year defense. So, yeah. So, yeah, we actually went through that conversation super quick, buddy.
Yeah, nailed all our points. Did what
nailed
we
all
had.
our points. Yeah. Usually, so usually it's kind of like I'll do like 8 minutes, and it'll be like 8:20, like 7:20. Well, I'll go on to my next topic. But since we're already here, you're listening to the GM Show with MJ. Tonight is Buddy on the E2G Sports Network. If you guys have any questions, you can listen to us via StreamYard, our YouTube channel, Twitter. You can see it on Buddy's and my Facebook. E2G Facebook page. And if you want to give us a comment, if you want to say MJ, you suck, or Buddy, you're great, leave us a comment. And if you have any questions or concerns of that you want to see what we have, what our thoughts are on it, on the situation, just leave us a comment and we'll get to it. So we're gonna keep moving on, but we're gonna stay with the NBA playoffs. Most of the games are already in either game 3 or game 2. Obviously, game 2 for the Celtics is tonight at 7:00. That's why we're doing the show at 6, because we want to lead into Celtics. We don't want to compete with the Celtics because we would lose. We would lose. We would lose. So a lot of games have already been played. A lot of 2-0 leads for some teams. The 76ers, the Warriors. The Pelicans were able to get a win against the number one, the best team in the West, or some might say the league this year, against the Suns to tie it up 1-1 after the Devin Booker injury. He may be out in game 3 and 4. But my question to you is, buddy, when you're looking at, if you've watched some of these games, or you just even see replays of a lot of these games, what are your takeaways thus far from what you've seen in this? Who belongs in here and has a legitimate chance to be an NBA Finals champion, and who is really kind of just lucky to be there, and they kind of within the next week they'll be gone.
Well, my favorite series so far is Memphis and Minnesota. That is a lot of fun. A lot of trash talk, and the dads of Karl Anthony Towns and John Morant going back and forth, really making it entertaining for the fans, not in the bad way, but in the good way. Like both those guys deserve to be recognized, the players and their families, but just high character way of they've gone about trash talking. The Warriors look unbelievable. Like, they look old school, and shooting always wins. You can be 42 and still shoot a basketball. You may be 42 and not able to drive the lane, but shooting always wins. Golden State has to be feared. We got to see what's up with Booker. If it's a soft tissue injury, how they're going to get through this. The Pelicans have been playing well since the McCollum trade. Team to watch out for. Could we see an 8-1? Possibly. Toronto needs to show me something tonight, and we'll see if Thibault not being able to play is going to be a big issue, not being able to go over the border. Atlanta, I expected more out of Atlanta. They're done. Thanks for coming. They'll be one of the first ones going home. The Bulls will be going home soon too. This was never a series. They kept it close for a little bit. And Luka, I think it might be too late just going back to game 3 in Utah.
Yeah. And Utah is one of those teams, obviously, the series is tied, but it's one of those teams that are kind of, they have all the makings of being one of the top teams in the West, but they just kind of get in their own way. And I don't know if it's the animosity between Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, which I think that's going to make headways in the offseason. I think one of those two are most likely. I think it's going to be Gobert, but they have to separate, because it seems as though they have, ever since the COVID-19 with Rudy Gobert, it seems as though Donovan Mitchell kind of and him just don't mesh, and they gotta part ways with one. If it was me, I'd go Rudy Gobert. But for me, when I'm watching the NBA playoffs, the Suns, without Devin Booker, that's going to be a huge hit, because I think he's the heart and soul of the team. Yes, a lot of people say Chris Paul, but he's the guy. He's the kind of young up and coming superstar that makes all those that's that kind of that I want to say Kobe Bryant, but he's the leader for the most part on that team. And Chris Paul obviously is still a great talent for them, but I think the Suns will only go as far as Devin Booker goes. The Timberwolves and the Grizzlies series, I agree, has the most fun because they have the most personalities. Obviously, you mentioned John Morant and Karl Anthony Towns' dads trash talking each other during a sideline interview during last night's game, and John Morant has that superstar mentality. He's quickly rising as to a top 10 NBA superstar in this league. And then you got Anthony Edwards on the other side, who has that swag, who has that. Sometimes it can be kind of cocky, but it's entertaining. So, and they came to play. They came to play too. See, a lot of people may have said, "All right, Timberwolves are kind of just going to be in there just to have someone play the Grizzlies, and then they'll be gone." But it seems as though the Timberwolves are giving them Memphis a fight, and they're looking like they do potentially have a chance to steal this series if they can keep that up. And the Warriors, I agree with you with the Warriors. Now that Steph Curry, he's not, he's I don't know if he's fully back, but he had a great game too. And I just think you said they look like old school, Golden State. They do. They look like that team that dominated the NBA from 2015 to 2019. And it looks as though as long as Steph Curry can stay healthy and Klay Thompson can kind of elevate his game, we could be seeing another Warriors in the NBA Finals, which a lot of people may hate. Like I don't hate the Warriors like I hated the Lakers, or I was bored by the Spurs when they just kept going and going and going. The Warriors are entertaining. Curry and Klay Thompson, as long as Klay is back as well, they're just fun to watch. And I think the 76ers Raptors series, I think that's, as much as I don't like to say the 76ers can actually, I always kind of brace for 76ers collapse because just that's what they do. I mean, as much as I love Doc Rivers, he gave us some great years here. His teams with LA, the Clippers, they never really got anywhere. And then the teams the 76ers, it's still early, but Embiid and Harden, great talents, but do any of them have that championship pedigree that if you look at all the teams that have won NBA championships in recent years, they at least have one or two guys that you can look at and say, okay, those guys had that Mamba mentality, so to speak, that kind of they can rip your heart out without even, and then just walk away. Those are the guys you want. Those are the guys you want. And I don't know if Embiid has that, and I don't think Harden at all has that. I think Harden is kind of that Russell Westbrook, where he can put up all these numbers, but you can still lose games. And that's what happened with the Lakers with Russell Westbrook. And Harden he's not this. It doesn't look like the same Harden as well, like the MVP Harden that was with the Rockets for all those years. So I mean, they're up 2-0. They're in the driver's seat to kind of take advantage of this series and go up 3-0 tonight. But I wouldn't hold my breath. I wouldn't hold my breath on that. But they're in prime position. So, but it's going to be exciting. I'm excited to watch this game tonight. If the Celtics can go up 2-0, that's going to be a huge benefit going to Brooklyn on Saturday night, and kind of taking advantage of over a good team, and obviously in a bad situation because they have all the makings of being a 1 or 2 seed. And that's the way everything panned out this year with the Harden thing early and Durant, Irving, the vaccination with Kyrie and Durant's injury. They kind of had to play in the playing game in order to get to this point, and they don't have home court advantage. So, if any year is our year as far as Celtics fans go, I think this is the year that you're primed to kind of take that next step and solidify the Celtics, legacy even more, and Tatum and Brown's legacy in the NBA. So, but now I wanted to switch over to the NFL, which is obviously it's the sport that rules all. We never don't talk about the NFL. The NFL is everything is NFL every day. So um, but there's been a lot of speculation recently as the draft gets near, and obviously we've seen one of the craziest off seasons I've seen in my in quite a while. We've seen a lot of trade movement, a lot of free agency movement. Players changing new teams. Devontae Adams, Oakland, Tyreek Hill, Miami. Obviously Russell Wilson and Matt Ryan changing teams. But there's been a lot of speculation as of since all these voluntary workouts have started to come. Is three of the stacked 2019 wide receiver class. They're coming up. This is their last final year because a lot of them were second round picks. So they don't have that fifth year option. So a lot of them are due to become unrestricted free agents this coming year. And they're seeing the wide receiver movement. They're seeing guys like Christian Kirk get money that maybe he doesn't necessarily deserve, but that's the market. They set the market, and that's what he got. So he was in a prime position to get paid. But guys like Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, which we'll get into a little bit about that because that took a bit of a turn today, and AJ Brown, they've all has stated they're not going to be participating in these workouts because they're looking for new deals, new long-term deals. They want to get paid like Tyreek, Devontae, Allen Robinson, like I said, Christian Kirk, and AJ Brown went as far as to remove, and Deebo Samuel went as far as to remove everything related to their teams. As I recall, AJ Brown had a Tennessee tag on his Twitter account, and then next thing you know, he doesn't have that anymore. So I know a lot of these players have done this. Kyler Murray was one of the first ones this offseason to do it with the Arizona Cardinals. So they do it, and it's kind of maybe I don't know if it's a ploy. It's probably trying to it's a strategy. Maybe their agent tells them to do. I don't know how that helps at all, but it is what it is. But they're looking for new deals, and Deebo Samuel today, it was a report by Jeff Darlington that came out that he spoke to Deebo Samuel, and he did indeed say that Deebo did request a trade to the 49ers. And a lot of reports are saying due to the way he's being used. And a lot of us kind of, were enamored by how he played last year with being a running back and wide receiver. The amount his statistics were just out of this world, and being being out of the backfield and as a wide receiver. And he doesn't like the way he's being used. He wants to be a wide receiver, which I guess it's fine because if the 49ers see that and they use him as a running back wide receiver, then they can kind of use that as give him running back money instead of wide receiver money. So he probably just wants that tag. So when they're looking at him, he wants that he wants to be able to demand Devontae, Tyreek Hill money. But he demanded a trade, and his brother doubled down on I think it was a Facebook comment saying that yes, he did request a trade, and he wants out of San Francisco. Excuse me. When you look at these three guys, obviously they're all world talents. The 2019 wide receiver class and DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf's one guy that hasn't really. He's kind of just going with the flow. It looks like. I mean, his name has been floated out in trade rumors, but he's not included when it's coming to these reports as far as holding out, demanding this and that. He has all the right to do so because he is one of those all-world talents that came out of 2019. But out of these three guys, do you think obviously we see holdouts happen every year, so it's not anything new to us, but do you think any of these guys have a chance to actually get dealt? And if one gets dealt, like what are two or three teams that you think are primed to kind of they make a move for any of these three guys, or even DK Metcalf for that matter?
All right, I'm gonna go with the Deebo Samuel story. This goes back to last Friday.
Yeah,
just something I read that his problem is not with the 49ers, but with 49er fans. And he has received death threats and been called racial slurs.
I saw he posted a video about that. Yeah.
That's the reason why he wants out of San Francisco. And if they don't honor his request with those type things, that's a DB move by the organization. Completely. They should honor his request. He doesn't want to be there. Your fans ruined it for you. Let the man go and get traded.
Yeah.
McLaurin, I don't. Who the hell do they throw the ball to? Just like J.D. McKissick out of the backfield every
Curtis
play?
Samuel.
Well, if he's healthy, yeah, that was our binky last year. But
that was I remember that one. Yeah, I love Curtis.
We love that guy. He'll be available next year. Don't worry.
Okay, yeah, and then he'll be on that bargain basket, and Bill loves that.
Yeah, no, McLaurin. Talking about a guy who went to the combine when he did as a special teams guy who could maybe play receiver and becomes the number one receiver in Washington, and he is just spectacular. And A.J. Brown, Mike Vrabel said, that kid ain't going anywhere if I'm head coach here. Over his dead body, that's going to happen. So they'll figure something out with A.J. Brown. And I figure they're going to bring in another receiver to complement him, whether it's a Lavi or a Traylon Burks, another physical guy. But Debo will be gone. The other two, I think, will stay.
Yeah. No, I think I agree. I think you hear Terry McLaurin skipping OTAs, which is nothing new. These are not mandatory. When it becomes mandatory, then that's when that's a story. But so now it's not really contact. It's just kind of conditioning and things of that nature. But I think that Debo, obviously, I'm glad you brought up that report, because I remember that report coming out last week where you're saying he was receiving death threats, receiving racial slurs towards him. And I just think, obviously, that is, as fans in general, not just the 49ers, it's like, is that necessary? Like, why, and we live in Massachusetts, and we've heard our fair share of criticisms on how we handle certain athletes here. And I'd say that's unacceptable. That's not, like, there's no need for that. Yeah, boo them, trash talk them, do it in as polite of a manner as you could. But when you're kind of taking it to the next step, threatening guys, threatening, their families at some points, or threatening, calling them, racial slurs, it's kind of like, where is your head at? Like, are you even all there? Because how do you treat another human being that way? Especially, they're doing this obviously most likely via Twitter, Instagram. They're sending those messages. Yeah, they're never going to say this to their face, because they
fake tough guys.
Yeah,
Twitter things
tough.
out, but never would say it to your face.
Yeah,
fake tough guys. Yeah,
you're just kind of
they
like,
exist. Well, they exist.
Yeah, they're like these bots. I don't know who they are. They're just living, in their mother's basement, or kind of, they're.
Yeah, you get people with roid rage doing things like that.
Yeah, and it reminds me of, I don't know if you remember, in 2012, but it was 2011 NFC Championship game.
Kenny Williams' son fumbled.
Yeah, Kyle Williams fumbled, and he got death threats, and he was, he was scared for his life. I remember that, and I'm thinking that was also the 49ers, and we don't really, I think this kind of is San Francisco fans in general, because we all know the Giants-Dodgers rivalry and how that can get heated between the two teams. So I don't know if maybe San Francisco, there's just, everyone gives flack to the Philadelphia fans and to our fans. Maybe we should start looking at how San Francisco fans treat some of, opposing players, and they're even their own players in this case. But yeah, I think that Debo, obviously, I think he has the leverage because of why he's asking for a trade. And I think that if the 49ers want to do him a solid, I mean, it's going to suck for their offense in general and for their team. But if this is a situation, you got to let them, see what else is out there and get to a situation that he thinks is going to be better for him and his family. And the Terry McLaurin, like you said, Terry McLaurin, I think that's all the Commanders have at this point. So I don't know, and he doesn't really seem, from the things I've read and have seen and watched the guy, as far as the way he carries himself, I don't really see him as a guy who's going to do that. A.J. Brown is kind of, I think they'll eventually pay him, because obviously they also don't have anything. They just brought in an injured Robert Woods, who tore his ACL last year. Yep. So that's you kind of have to take that into consideration. And So you're going to have to pay the man. I think they're going to have to pay A.J. Brown. And Terry McLaurin gets paid because the Commanders, they just – what else do they have after that? I mean, they just brought in Carson Wentz. That's not great either. So you got to have something to showcase. And
the ghost of Logan Thomas.
Logan. I always forget about Logan Thomas. I think is Adam Humphries is not there, but I think he's a free agent. But you got Antonio Gibson, and then I think they're better suited to kind of stick it with Terry McLaurin and the whole DK Metcalf thing. Who knows? I think if the Seahawks are smart, they kind of keep those guys around because they don't know what they're doing at quarterback at this point as well. But as far as when I think about teams that could actually potentially make a play for Debo, you always look at draft capital, and we've been kind of been kind of looking at the draft and kind of looking at what teams can do, what teams can move. It's scary to say, but I think the New York Jets are a good spot for them. They have the draft capital. They can give them a guy. They can give them a receiver as well. They have Corey Davis on there, which if they needed something to extra for the 49ers to kind of say, all right, well, at least we can get something back, something that's proven. You can give him Corey Davis and a few picks, and that can be, that could be a good play. The Packers, everyone always says, is the number one place that he should go. But I just don't see it. They haven't really made it. Never. This is Debo from the reports I'm reading is the 49ers are going to look for a Tyreek Hill type of haul. And I don't think the Packers are kind of like the Patriots in that regard, where they like the player. I'm sure everyone loves the player. They'd give up the player for like a pick or two. But the haul that Tyreek Hill brought in for Kansas City from Miami is not something that got teams like the Steelers, Packers, and Patriots will ever do. Plus, you have to pay him the $25+ million annually, which is something that the Green Bay Packers wouldn't do with Devontae Adams. So I don't know why they would want to do it with Deebo Samuel at this point. So from my perspective, I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. I'm going to be wrong again. So I could definitely be wrong in that regard. So, but at least, hey, I wonder if N'Keal Harry's in this conversation as well. Do you think so? He's a 2019 wide receiver. That was
he's on the block too.
He's on the block. I'm just saying, yeah. But you think we can get a haul like that for N'Keal?
Yeah, at least like a seventh and like a couple of kicking tees.
Maybe like some gift cards. Maybe a couple of gift cards, like a
another team's pro shop.
No, there, Dunkin' Donuts, or maybe those Visa MasterCards that you can use anywhere.
Those things always work out. Those are
those are good for gas. Good for So
can't go wrong with money for gas right now.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Yeah, so we can get something. That's good value right there. When Bill says value, that's what I think. All right, so you're listening to the GM show on the Ear to the Ground Sports Network. I am your host again, Buddy, with alongside the E2G founder, the legend, Buddy Andrade. And you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. And if you guys have any comments, questions, concerns, make sure to comment, and we'll try to get to your comments and see what you want asked or have a comment on. So we're gonna move on. We're gonna stay in the NFL, like I said, because NFL is king. And getting into the wheelhouse, you and I do a draft preview show, the day 3 draft show on Mondays. I'm sorry, I'm already drawing a blank. When we had this past Monday, we obviously had you, myself, Dante, and Mike, and we discussed a lot. We discussed obviously what's a lot of where players are going to drop to. We discussed a lot of the Kayvon Thibodeau situations there. But what I had a question for you today, Buddy, is there something that when you're looking at draft coverage, or you're just reading up on certain players or certain teams that what may happen, what may not happen? Is there something that you're seeing that a lot of people aren't talking about, as far as a team moving up, a team potentially moving down, or a team for a player that a player that may not be a team that may not, because we see it every year. We see a team that pops out of nowhere to acquire this certain player. Is there something that you're seeing out there? Is there a scenario that you could see and say that could kind of shock the draft world on let's say day one? That's usually when that happens.
The thing I'm looking at these teams with 2 picks who have a quarterback that this is probably the year they need to prove it, either under a first or second year coach. I am calling Brian Daboll out with Daniel Jones. And I don't think they're going to make both those picks at 5 and 7. One of them is going to get kicked to the first round next year for the draft for the 2 big quarterbacks, with Stroud and Young. I see the Philadelphia Eagles have already done that, and they've got 3 picks in the first round next year. I am kind of curious if the Detroit Lions 32 is going to be a spot they can get another number 1 for next year, because that is the last pick where you get the 5th year option on a player. So 32 is high currency. The Chiefs are all set at quarterback. Don't have to worry about that. I think they go a couple of defensive players more than wide receivers. I see Green Bay with 2 first-round picks, and I have not moved away from the double dip at wide receiver. Combination of guys that they could pick who are opposite of each other. The Houston Texans are another team that could kick to next year, maybe trade the 3rd pick, something for next year, and draft at 13 or trade 13, which will be hot for the interior defensive linemen from Georgia, maybe some of the linebackers positions. So we'll see what goes on. But I think our first quarterback goes at 6. I've been talked into it.
Yeah, I know. We've been talking, the last couple of weeks on the show that obviously Malik Willis, who is it going to be? Is it going to be Malik Willis, Kenny Pickett? None of them really wows us. None of it. We all think, like I said on Monday, I think Kenny Pickett is an Andy Dalton type. Well, he'll maybe be serviceable and kind of he'll make some plays. He'll have some solid years, but is he a Pro Bowler? Is he gonna kind of carry a team? No, it's a game manager. Like Alex Smith was game manager. And Alex Smith was a really good quarterback, but would you draft him in first overall again? No, you'd probably draft him, second or earliest 3rd round. So I don't. It's just how the NFL has actually progressed, or somebody say degressed, the last few years as far as quarterbacks are at a premium right now. We've seen it ever since the 2017 draft class with Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes. Teams see that and they get green with envy. They just want to have that. So they may look at a guy who has maybe is the best quarterback in this draft and say, okay, well, I'm going to overdraft him because I want to have that same thing with, have that control, have that young quarterback, have that flashy guy, and then have him under control for 5 years under good money and be able to chase that championship, just like the Chiefs were able to chase that championship with a quarterback that was on a rookie deal and get to that point. So I think I like what you said about the Detroit Lions, and I think they have those 2 picks. They have that second pick that they can use on. I think they're gonna. I'm starting to talk myself into Trayvon Walker at that pick, but I think Kayvon Thibodeau just has all the. He's the best pass rusher in the draft. I feel, and he's also has the best physical traits. But obviously, we already heard that Dan Campbell doesn't like his personality or whatever. He didn't really wow in his meetings at the combine, or so that may not be an option. So look at Trayvon Walker for them if that's their route they want to go. And then with that last pick, either they can move it or you can get, if there's a quarterback like a Desmond Ridder, if he doesn't, it looks to be like he's rising, but if he's somehow drops to that,
he is.
Yeah. So if a quarterback, for whatever reason, a quarterback drops, I don't want to say take a flyer on the 32nd pick because it's still first round, but you have that ammo to kind of say, okay, well, let me take this quarterback. That way I have at least 4 years of control. And then you may have the potential for the 5th year option, just like the Vikings had done with Teddy Bridgewater trading back into that round, and
that
then
year. Yep,
that
at
year,
32.
yeah,
And
and
Lamar
then
Jackson was
Lamar
another
Jackson,
example.
yeah. So it's just I just think it's smart business. It's a smart business model, and a lot of people don't talk about the Detroit Lions right now. They may not be. They have a lot of individual pieces. Obviously, they have Penei Sewell, they have DeAndre Swift, Amon-Ra St. Brown, T.J. Hawkinson. They have all the makings that they can kind of. And obviously, I think Dan Campbell can be a lot to take, and at times
Mhm.
his personality can be a little bit too much. But for now, just like Rex Ryan was too much in the beginning in the Jets. I mean, in the beginning with the Jets, but he actually got his team to perform, and they went to back-to-back AFC Championship games. So it looks to me that the Lions, after that atrocious Matt Patricia, you know, tenure there, they have players have bought into this Dan Campbell. This Dan Campbell leadership so thus far. We'll see where it goes after that. If that can only last you so much. But I think that they have a lot of makings. If they can get a quarterback, obviously Jared Goff isn't the answer. Early on in with the Rams, he had that great 2018 year. They had a great offense. They had a lot of skilled players around him, and then he just tailed off. So Jared Goff isn't the guy. He's a good stopgap. Like I won't knock that. Just like Marcus Mariota is a fine stopgap in Atlanta. They're not expected to go anywhere, but when you're in a position like the Detroit Lions, I like where the Lions are. And going back to your Green Bay Packers, I love that scenario for Green Bay to go back to back wide receivers at that position, because at this point you have Allen Lazard, Randall Cobb, and you just signed Sammy Watkins, and who knows what Sammy Watkins is anymore. So, and they have
Captain inactive.
Captain inactive. I like that. That's him. I don't. I forgot he was even on the Chiefs championship team.
So did he.
Forgot. Yeah, so did he. I remember he says he wants to help build this team into winning dynasty, getting it into a dynasty. I'm like, who are you again?
Yes.
Like Patrick Mahomes is probably he's probably like introducing himself. It's like, I'm Patrick. Who are you? Like Sammy?
Get on Madden quickly, buddy.
Yeah, seriously. But yeah, so he's there, and seems as though Aaron Rodgers is he's going along with it, and it's weird because his whole issue was he wanted players. You remember his huge press conference last summer when he showed up to training camp that they weren't showing the players respect. They weren't signing this guy. He named a bunch of guys, and they went to go get his old buddy Randall Cobb, and then they just Devontae Adams, they let go. So I think that getting guys like Chris Olave, where they're picking Treylon Burks, Jameson Williams, if he's still there, would be a great pick, especially if you double dip at the receiver position, because you kind of buy yourself a little bit of time, that you at least have one that you can kind of integrate into the offense, and then have the other one kind of ease his way as the season goes along. Even though Jameson Williams is stating he'll be ready by training camp, but you don't want to rush, especially 20 sales. You don't want to rush, especially with a young guy. You don't want to have his career start off on a bad note. So
right,
you definitely want to get the most out of that. So we already caught up. But what else can we talk? Sorry, buddy. I thought I put a lot in there, and I thought we were gonna get it. I thought we were gonna usually take our time, but 13 minutes left. So you know what we'll do? We'll jump into baseball. How about that, buddy?
Sure, I can.
Yeah.
I guess so. I've seen a baseball game.
You've seen a baseball game? They usually they have a
not
glove.
Robert or any of those guys or Murph. Those guys are the legends. I'm just
a
fan.
What are your thoughts on the Red Sox this year? Just in general.
Interesting, because I see the whole division kind of playing the same way.
Yeah.
So nobody's really jumping out ahead of anybody. And it's April, and there's some of these guys in the bullpen and on the roster who by July you're going to forget wherever here. You're weeding through the bullpen right now. Then you go out and make moves and bring in more guys. I don't know. It's crazy. The bullpen is absolutely crazy and how much it's dependable, but Whitlock is a trump card, man. And there's nobody who loves a trump card more than me. You gotta have the trump card sometimes. And you pull him out there in the 7th inning and let him go 3 innings, and maybe he allows one base runner over that time, and you win the game. So you don't have the conventional closer, but you have the shutdown closer.
And that's basically how Heimblum plays it. That's what he did. And there's never really titles for anybody on these teams anymore. It's kind of like, I want to say positionless baseball, but it's kind of the more you can do anywhere you can do it. Like it just, it's the days of, well, Papelbon's our closer. That's it. That's going to be, he's going to be the closer. And Keith Folk's our closer. Those are no longer, I mean, Matt Barnes, I thought would have been the closer, but his velocity is down. It seems as though they're kind of going by committee now. They're doing different things. They're not, obviously, this is the way baseball and, baseball analytics and the way everything is kind of turning towards, and they're not leaving pitchers out past the 5th inning for the most part. You saw Clayton Kershaw have a no-hitter the other night and going into the 7th, and then they took him out because for whatever the baseball nerds up front up in the box saw, they said, all right, this is a time to pull him, which back in the day that'd be there'd be anarchy in the streets, because that's not how if a guy's throwing a perfect game, you have let him throw it. But as far as the Red Sox, I think they're high and they're low. They're kind of their offense hasn't really fired up, and a guy like Trevor Story hasn't done anything thus far on the team. But I think they'll be fine. It's just the pitching needs to kind of, hopefully we can get Chris Sale and Nathan Eovaldi can come back to form. And, at least with those two guys, then we can kind of see where it's going. It looks like the Blue Jays are here to stay. The Yankees may be coming up, even though Garrett Cole looks awful. And looks like the worst money ever spent for the Yankees. And, I try when, I watch baseball, but this early on, I tried to kind of temper my emotions when I see something. When I was a kid, I'd be, oh my gosh, we just beat the Yankees in April 15th. Like, and excited. Go crazy and excited. Like, this is it. I'm like, no.
We should definitely wrap up. We're 7 minutes to tip.
7 minutes to tip. Yeah, we should definitely do that. Well, thank you, buddy.
Anytime.
And so you're going to be gone for our draft show next week.
Yeah, I'll be gone Saturday to Wednesday, but I will set things up, and my computer will be with me, and I'll be working from remote.
We'll dedicate the show in your honor.
Oh, thank you very much. That's so touching.
And I'll be I'll be talking to you soon. I want to get some things going with this show and everything else at E2G. So I'm really glad give me the opportunity to be a part of E2G, buddy. So just want to thank you. And
you're a team player. That's what we look for. Respect and team players. So thank you.
I appreciate it, buddy. I appreciate it. Well, thanks to everyone that watched. I'll be back Galen should be back by next Wednesday, and we'll definitely be previewing everything with the NBA, previewing the draft that will be happening the next day.
Let you end the broadcast because I need to.
Yeah. No problem. And I'll see you Monday on the Day 3 draft show. And have a good night. Enjoy the NBA playoffs. Enjoy, if you're a Boston Celtics fan, enjoy the Celtics tonight. Let's hope for a Game 2 win. And thank you for listening on the Ear to Ground Sports Network. I am MJ. He is Buddy. And have a great week.
We didn't end broadcast, but shout out, happy 40th birthday to Kim, the enforcer. We love her. We miss, and I'll see her next week. All right, you guys have a good night.
Happy birthday, Kim.